Guys, continuing on, we have 10 minutes before we take a break, sponsored by CZ, Joe LoPorto. He's been a guest on my show. He's a lot of fun. New Jersey Firearms Owners Syndicate, and you are the executive director of legal operations for the New Jersey Firearms Owners Syndicate. Joe, 10 minutes. Take it away. The mic is yours, brother.
Thank you.
You bet.
And I have to say first, thanks to both Citizens Committee and to SAF for the honor that I received earlier. It's just a pleasure to be here. You know, I listened to Alan earlier this morning talking about how important this conference is. We've had a busy couple of months here. Just since June, we've sued the state of New Jersey twice. We sued on the 18 to 20-year-old ban with SAF, and then a month later we sued the state over its suppressor ban with SAF, the NRA, with our friends at the American Suppressor Association. It's worth pointing out that the planning for that lawsuit started here at Gun Rights Policy Conference last year in San Diego. So in the hallways of this conference, that lawsuit was born. It is a pleasure to be here. I wanted to spend just a few minutes talking about what I think is a relatively important project that we're working on in the state of New Jersey. You know, we are behind enemy lines. We have a legislature that is 2 votes away from a supermajority for the Democrats, so it's very difficult for us to get legislative wins. We have a very important election this year, and we think things are going to change. Certainly, the 2024 election results for New Jersey were a surprise to most people in the country. Donald Trump, while he didn't carry the state, he outperformed by over 10 points and made New Jersey a low single-digit state. So now, you know, we are considered, you know, a purple state at the moment, and we think that momentum is going to carry into 2025, into our state election this year, and hopefully we will elect a Republican governor this fall. But in the meantime, it's sort of, you know, it's an interesting thing that we've started to work together on as a way to sort of fight behind enemy lines. In New Jersey, in the immediate aftermath of the Bruin decision, just like New York, you know, who in sort of a knee-jerk reaction passed the Concealed Carry Improvement Act, which basically the state of New York said, well, if we've got to start issuing permits, we're just going to make it as difficult as possible, and we're going to make it as expensive as possible and make it as hard as possible for folks to apply. And then, by the way, we're also going to sort of declare that the entire state of New York is a gun-free zone, a sensitive location. New Jersey immediately followed suit and did virtually all the same things. And in the process, they quadrupled the fees. But, you know, they left this sort of window open in the way that they structured the fee, because the state set that statutory fee at $200, which has to be collected every 2 years. It's a 2-year carry permit. But $150 of that fee was collected by the issuing authority, which would have been your local police department. What they didn't realize is that because of that, that fee would be collected, and then it would just move over into the general fund of the municipality. So there was no, you know, specific earmarking for what those funds would be used for. Once they hit the municipal balance sheet, we just started going up and down the state, asking municipalities to then take that money and immediately refund it back to the applicant. So we, on the night that before I flew out here on Thursday, we got our 7th town in the state of New Jersey to completely eliminate the concealed carry fee, at least the municipal portion. And just last week, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, in an otherwise pretty terrible opinion, did find at least one nugget of gold applying First Amendment logic. They struck down the state portion of the fee. So in those 7 towns where we've brought this resolution, carry permits are now free in the state of New Jersey, which is an incredible thing. You know, it's one of the more nefarious parts of the law. When it was originally introduced as an assembly bill, I myself testified before the Assembly Judiciary Committee, and I stood before that committee and I said, well, you know, if you look at our urban centers, places like Patterson and Newark and Camden and Elizabeth, the more urban parts of the state, one, you know, in some of those cities, 60 to 70% of the population are Black or Latino, and two, in many cases, the averages in those states is over 30 to 40% at or below the poverty line. So I put it on the record saying that radically increasing those fees would be inherently discriminatory because folks in those cities would be harmed by this high fee and they wouldn't be able to avail themselves of a core constitutional right. Then Assemblyman John McKeon, in immediate response to my comment, said, "We don't want those people to have guns," essentially. Yeah. And he continued that theme throughout the entire legislative proceeding. On the day that the vote occurred on A4769, his opening statement in defense of the bill was, "I don't know much about the Constitution, and I don't know much about history, but I know this. In 1791, only really rich people had guns." Those were the statements that then Assemblyman John McKeon made in that legislative process. Colleen Noir did an immediate reactionary video to his statement and eviscerated it. And that video got 5 million views on YouTube. But nonetheless, Assemblyman McKeon was promoted to senator and faced no consequence as a result of that. Now, my friend and colleague John Petrolino has done a ton of work on the licensing standards in the state, and we've uncovered all sorts of discriminatory impacts in the way that licenses are issued in the state of New Jersey. In New Jersey, someone who's Black is 10 times more likely to be denied a carry permit than a white applicant. And then combine that with this truly unconstitutional fee, and the story is clear, right? This isn't just about gun control, it's about controlling certain populations and demographics. This should be a bipartisan issue. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. And I'm happy to report that seventh town that passed our resolution on the night before I arrived here, that was on a bipartisan vote. So in a blue state, we are, at least at the local level, we are getting support not just from our friends in the Republican conference, but also getting, in some cases, bipartisan support on this initiative because, we can all have differences of opinion on certain, where the contours lie on the Second Amendment, but the idea of hiding a core constitutional right behind a paywall should be offensive to anyone. Everyone should agree that that's an immoral practice. We talk a lot about history and tradition of various forms of regulation in this country. Chief Justice John Marshall said in 1819 in McCulloch v. Maryland that the power to tax involves the power to destroy. So we know that these fees are destructive to our rights, and the Supreme Court has recognized that for over 2 centuries, so there should be no debate over this. So, nonetheless, it's been a project that we're working on. I think it has national implications. Midstream, over the course of the summer, we learned that a county in Virginia had copied our solution and completely eliminated carry permit fees for an entire county in Virginia. So I certainly would hope that we could export this solution out to other parts of the country as well. And I will say, again, thank you to Citizens Committee and the Second Amendment Foundation and our friends at the NRA who have been supporting our effort and making sure that we're getting the message out as far and wide as possible. I've traveled up and down the state and been standing before municipal council members from one end of the state to the other, and with me in getting that message out has been all of the support of those organizations. So none of that would have been possible without sort of the unity and activism that we've accomplished here. So I've got about a minute left, so I guess I'll kind of leave it there. But again, I just want to thank Alan and SAF and the Citizens Committee for the opportunity to come here and speak today. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe.